The story you are about to hear is not one that is told quickly. It spans centuries, echoes through ancient traditions, and carries the weight of a tragic, yet deeply revealing destiny. It is not just the story of a man, but of a prophet, a messenger, someone who dared to speak, even when the world demanded silence. This is the account of Isaiah, the man who saw the throne of God, who announced the coming of the Messiah, and who, according to tradition, met a shocking and brutal death. His name has been respected, quoted, and revered by Jews and Christians for over 2 millennia. But what few know is that Isaiah, the prophet of heavenly visions, the man who wrote words eternalized in the Scriptures, may not have died of old age, nor of illness, but at the hands of a king corrupted by fear and power. And it was not just any death. It was martyrdom, a silence imposed by violence, a desperate attempt to erase a voice that disturbed. Before we dive into the accounts of his death, we need to understand who Isaiah was, because his life and mission explain, in part, why his end was so cruel. Isaiah lived around the 8th century before Christ, during the reign of 4 kings, Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, all kings of Judah. It was a time of political instability, constant external threats, idolatry, and spiritual decline. Amidst all of this, God raised up Isaiah to proclaim uncomfortable truths, to denounce injustices, to warn kings, and also to announce promises. Isaiah was the prophet who saw the glory of God in the temple, who heard the angels crying out, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts," who had his lips purified with a live coal and accepted the divine calling with the words, "Here am I, send me." He was not an ordinary man. His mission was divine, but also dangerous. The book of Isaiah contains powerful prophecies. He spoke of the virgin birth of the Messiah, announced that a child would be born, who would be called Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. He prophesied the suffering of the servant, the one who would be pierced for our transgressions and crushed for our iniquities. Every line written by Isaiah carries a strength that transcends time and still touches hearts today. And maybe that's why he was hated by so many in his time. Jewish tradition tells us that after the reign of Hezekiah, a king who respected Isaiah, one of the most wicked kings in the history of Judah came to the throne, Manasseh, son of Hezekiah. Manasseh rejected everything his father had established. He restored idolatry, filled Jerusalem with pagan altars, and persecuted those who spoke in the name of the Lord. Isaiah, now elderly, became a target of this persecution. According to the Talmud and ancient Jewish writings, when Manasseh ordered Isaiah's capture, the prophet fled. And where did he hide? Inside the hollow trunk of a tree. But he was found. And then, the order was given that the trunk be sawn in half, with Isaiah still inside it. That was how the one who announced the coming of Christ died. Sawn in half. In silence. Victim of the hatred of a king blinded by idolatry. This version, although not described directly in the Bible, is confirmed by texts such as the Ascension of Isaiah, an apocryphal writing that circulated among the early Christians. In fact, the author of the letter to the Hebrews, in chapter 11, when speaking of the heroes of faith, mentions that some were sawn in two. Many scholars believe this was a direct reference to the death of Isaiah, because it was well known, in oral tradition and ancient writings, that this was the prophet's final destiny. Now stop and reflect for a moment. What kind of courage is this? What kind of faith remains firm even in the face of persecution? Isaiah did not remain silent. He did not soften his message to please kings. He did not negotiate the truth to save his own skin. He remained faithful to the end, even if that end was inside a tree trunk, to the sound of a saw tearing through wood and flesh. Why do prophets disturb so much? Why do those who speak in the name of truth become targets of the powerful? Because truth confronts. Truth exposes. And Isaiah was, above all, a messenger of truth. He did not come to please. He came to warn, to call for repentance, to prepare the way of the Lord. And the most surprising thing is that even after his death, his voice was not silenced. His words have crossed the centuries. His writings have nourished the faith of generations. Jesus, the Messiah himself, read the scrolls of Isaiah in the synagogues. He quoted his prophecies and fulfilled each one of them perfectly. Isaiah, the man who was sawn in half, had his words eternalized by the very Son of God. And here lies a profound lesson. Sometimes, the mission God entrusts to us may cost everything. It may cost friends, comfort, reputation, or even our very life. But if we remain faithful, our story does not end in pain. It becomes testimony, legacy, a seed of faith for future generations. Isaiah was not the only one to face this. All the prophets, to a greater or lesser degree, were persecuted. Jeremiah was thrown into a cistern. Elijah fled to the desert. Amos was expelled from the land. Jesus himself said, "Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you." The story of God's messengers is a story of suffering, but also of glory. Today, when we read Isaiah, we might not imagine the price that was paid for those words to reach us. But each line, each prophecy, carries the weight of sacrifice. Isaiah did not die by chance. He died because his voice disturbed, because his presence exposed sin, because his life was light amid darkness, and darkness hates the light. But death did not have the final word, because the blood of the prophets is not forgotten. God sees, God hears, God acts, and one day all injustice will be judged. Every tear will be wiped away, and every martyr will be honored. Isaiah saw the throne of God, and now he stands before it forever. His life was taken on earth, but crowned in heaven, and his name remains, like an echo of truth, like a flame that does not go out. If this story touched your heart, share it, comment, reflect. What kind of faith are we living today? Would we have the courage to speak the truth, even knowing it could cost us everything? This channel exists to tell stories like this. Stories that reveal the often forgotten, but deeply powerful, side of the Scriptures. May God bless you. And until next time.